Dear Diary, I feel that slowly we are making progress. The demands of the reformists, when it comes to constitutional reform, have been unsurprisingly exuberant, but my team seems to have made headway towards a compromise. It's good to hear that Petr has been involved successfully in negotiations. I had been worried about him after the incident at the foreign policy meeting, but it sounds like he was right, and it really was a one-off occurrence. Either way, it's good to see him diving into his work. Nia's contacts and insights into the machinations of the Supreme Court are invaluable. As I suspected, Hawker has built his own little kingdom there, wielding power over some of the other judges. Yet she believes that we can get the curtailing of the court's power approved despite that. There'll be delicate matters that will need careful compromises, but in the end, I think the result will be beneficial for Swordland's future. Alright, let's see what else the news have to say about our proposal. I think we've read the Economist last time. They were proposing cooperation with Rumborg, as they would. But what's the Holsort Post up to? Minister Manger's Rural Development Division. Minister of Rural Development, Gus Manger, who I am somewhat suspicious of. Recently, due to his involvement into various companies' schemes and other things, recently unveiled an ambitious investment plan concept aimed at revitalizing Swordland's rural economies and ensuring the nation's food sustainability. Dubbed the Groony Rural Development Investment, the plan envisions judicious resource allocation to invigorate agricultural communities, strengthen food security, and bolster the regional economy of Groony. The multifaceted strategy is indicative of a broader shift towards rural development, emphasizing sustainable agriculture and regional prosperity. That is his job, after all. So, Groony, however, was not where I thought this was going to go. So once again, we do have a bit of a two-class society here. We've got the central and eastern provinces. This is where, well, basically most of the industry, the development, research. Lauren is a bit left behind, and Groony is more of a tourist region. We do have Bergia, which is in dire need of help. We've got Nargis, which is having significant issues, and we've got massive poverty problems in Angland. Yet Manger proposes that we do something about Groony. And we've already bolstered the tourism region with the recent tourism investments. So I might have to, before I go anywhere else, then I'm going to have to quickly review the current situation in the States and see what the majority of the problems are. I've done this once when we started the whole campaign, but things might have changed since, and it'll be good to have a look and to judge the proposals on that. So I appear to be reading about the proposals in the news first before I actually get to hear them from my own cabinet. All right, let's have a look. Valgan. It's got a hydroelectric dam, and it's got protests. Well, everyone's got widespread protests. That is something we need to deal with. But other than that, not much. Rayne in the Groony region has nationalists. Benfi is a tourism destination, and Borin is also has widespread protests. So it's a politically varied region, but I don't really see any noticeable issue in regional development. Okay, let's have a look. So I'm a little surprised about that proposal. If that proposal was going to be focused on Angland, that would be a different story. Let's have a look at Lauren and see how things go there. Not much in terms of what we have. We've got decreasing job opening. That is part of the overall recession. And in Velsord as well, we just got protests, so nothing else going on there. In Holsord, city information, we have logistical issues, which is something that we're solving with the railway. But other than that, it's not much to say here. In Conriat, There's nothing going on there either. I don't expect too many problems besides the obvious protests in the Holsort region to be there. We've got some more tourism, and Anrika has the antiquated railway. This is something we're fixing. It's in lockdown because of the protests. Yes, we know that much. That brings us to Geltland already, until it has a prison. That does not fall under tourism destinations unless it's empty and had a famous prison break. Ribery is a tourist region, and Gelsord is having the railway issues. So we're reinforcing the tourism, and we are building the railway. Now Bergia obviously has issues. So Dyer has massive problems with homelessness. We've got Sarna, which is part of the special zone, but otherwise nothing else. Same here. We've got Rebel, which has literacy issues, and Uzirin, which has literacy issues and lack of healthcare. So homelessness, literacy, and healthcare problems, and obviously the problem that it's a special zone, which is something we're trying to fix. Lachhaven itself is kind of all right despite the protests, aside from the protests. We've got Estord, which is a organized crime hotbed, and we've got Narbel, which is organized crime, lack of healthcare, low literacy, and an overburdened police force. So Nargis generally has security issues, as well as obviously here we have massive problems in the regions. We've got Lenkorg in England, which is lack of the road network. We've got Laren, which has poverty and healthcare issues, and Arvery, which has logistical issues as well. So any further given the state of our government budget, and we're already down five units of currency here. I think development the Central East is fine. We need development in these regions here. We need to fix these regions. So I am hesitant to hear about rural development in Gruni, and it might add another item to my list of things why I'm having suspicions about Mr. Manger. Anyway, let's continue with the news. Let's see what the Radical has to say. Job freeze sparks fears for Gasum's financial stability. Unsettling rumors are spreading about Gasum, one of Sordland's largest corporations, as the company puts a halt to hiring. The unprecedented move, coupled with a lack of usual job openings, has sparked concerns about the company's fiscal stability. Thousands of blue-collar workers across Narbel and Lachhaven depend on Gasum for employment, and the rumors cast an ominous shadow over their livelihoods. I think Gasum is the one that has was that still the case? Let me see. Gasum, I think that was run by Alfonso. Alfonso was elected CEO in 30, and that's when they expanded. Then 32, they sold a small portion of shares to the state, construction of the Sol Dam. And he resigned in 45 due to his political ambitions. And the company since has been declining. And we did have I think it was a gas station or a gas well of some sorts offshore. If I'm not mistaken, that was way early on in the campaign, that had to be shut down due to maintenance issues. And now we have the what was it? Narbel, between Narbel and Lachhaven. So this is basically Gasum land, and something fishy is going on there. So this might be if I get the chance, I would love to look into this, because it feels like we can go two routes here. We can either nationalize the company and focus on energy production for domestic needs, or we can. That's what everyone's pushing for. We can ditch the Protection Act and get foreign ownership in to develop our natural resources. I would prefer not to do that, but we will see what kind of options we're going to have. this is one of those, we can't let that fail because it's an essential business. So if there's mismanagement, then, and yeah, that shutdown concerns me as well, and that's something we need to look into. Lastly, geopolitics. The Container Security Pact's Iotake plan, an ambitious initiative to transform Rica's infrastructure and education sectors, has drawn mixed reactions globally. Of course it did. Western Mercopa and Northern Xena view the plan with skepticism, framing it as a geopolitical maneuver tied to ideological rivalries. Rica, however, has welcomed the proposal, seeing it as an opportunity for economic growth. Anraka and Yaktralis have cautioned against the plan, concerned it would further intensify superpower competition, are rooted in principle. This is all off map, I believe. Rooted in principles of sustainable decentralized economic development, the Iotake plan seeks to empower local communities and foster equitable growth by prioritizing education and infrastructure. While the plan aligns with internationalist economic theory through the emphasis of localized decision-making and resilience, its reception varies across nations, reflecting different priorities and concerns. But obviously, the capitalist globalist elite is not going to have anything to do with this, because rural development and local independence and resilience is the last thing that they want. They want a cheap labor, exploitable labor, and an ineffective regulation and a weak governance structure that can easily be subverted to their needs in order to fill the pockets of the few on top of the backs of the many. But obviously, for us, this would actually be ideal, and this might be a blueprint if we can get to an agreement with or reach out towards the Container Security Pact to do something similar in Swordland. So this is basically exactly what I'm having in mind. Okay, that's the news. Let's read the reports and see if there's anything interesting coming up. We have a nature preservation protest in Lauren. That might have something to do with the fact that we're logging there. Nature Preservation Foundation is protesting against the remaining coal industry, a significant contributor to Swordish energy. The group is voicing concerns about the environmental impact of the industry. The group is gaining momentum and drawing attention to the need for sustainable energy alternatives. The future of coal industry operations in Morbel is uncertain. Well, there isn't an awful lot of them, is there? Right now, we've got hydroelectric power, and we already have, I think, 2 dams, wasn't it? Did we have... Yeah, we've got the Valgen Dam, and we've got the Sol Dam, which was it over here? No, it was somewhere over here. Was it in Sarna? No. I've seen it in passing. Was it in Dain? No. Was it in Suzerain? No. Where was the thing? There it is. The last one, obviously. In Erzarin. So we've got in terms of sustainable energy, hydroelectricity is what we're currently using. Besides that, it's reasonably difficult. Besides hydrocarbons, to get anything else going, unless we're talking about nuclear technology, which I am not sure if that's already a thing at this time. It might also be difficult to get additional hydroelectric plants up and running. So it could be that we could do something in Lauren about a dam. But hydroelectric power is also not without trouble, because you have to actually do some quite massive constructions and changes to the environment in order to get these things set up. You've got to flood a certain area to create the artificial lakes and to dam up the rivers. You are potentially depriving downstream communities of access to water. So there's a fair amount of stuff that goes into that. So we'll see what comes of it. But I would like to hear your arguments of how we can solve this rather than just complaining about it. We've got Lenkurk. There was an incident at President Sol's mansion on Duru Island. Okay, so he's actually living over here, out in the ocean. A private boat nearing Tarkin Sol's mansion on Duru Island prompted the Coast Guard to fire warning shots. Despite the initial alarm, former President Sol allowed the boat to approach for a brief conversation. The occurrence has raised questions about the security protocols near the obscure mansion. Details of the conversation remain undisclosed. I would prefer if they were disclosed, because I would very much like to know what's going on there. I could imagine that the nationalists or potentially Rumburg have reached out to him and discuss either a potential return to power or at least his support in a potential revolution and attempt to overthrow the government. I would not be surprised if that was the case. That would also explain why he let them through. So if the security is let me check the constitution. There was something about his security in there. Yes, so he has his own security team, but it is part of the presidential guard. So how far can I zoom in here? Sorry, I never tried this. Okay, yeah, we can zoom in quite a bit. He has his own security team, but it is coming all out of the presidential guard. So it could entirely be possible that he wasn't able to inform the security team that these people were coming, or he and that led to the security team initially rejecting them, but then he waved them through because it was something that he was personally interested in. So there's a fair amount of possibilities of what could be going on there. I would very much like to know what was going on, because that sounds ominous. Conriad, we have a promising industrial potential. The mayor of Conriad, Chris Shar, reports that the decision to start the construction of the L1 high-speed railway project caused industrial investors all over the country to invest money in regions near the city. The mayor is hopeful that the completion of the project will result in substantial economic growth in Conriad. See, that's what I'm saying. So it's already paying dividends, and we are overall going for the biggest bang for the buck here with the infrastructure project. But eventually, we will have to elevate the poorer and less advantaged regions in the West significantly, and that's where the economic recovery hopefully leads us into, because we just have the potential for much more growth than by direct investment in here. But I don't want to. I feel like the center east is in good shape, except maybe for Lauren. But like this region here is in good shape. So I'm really curious what he's going on about with that rural development idea here. That feels like there might be a conflict of interest. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it, unless we have something else. Graph still go down. No good. Graph needs to go up. But we'll see if we can get that back on track here eventually. Nothing else internationally. The diplomatic missions are still underway, and I still haven't heard anything about a potential reaching out to either Valksland or the Continental Security Pact. But let's not be impatient and see what's next to be done. Oh, good grief! Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that one. Meeting with the Chief Justice. I have a report to read first, so am I going to do that? The construction plans have been started. Sorter State Corporation has reported that preparatory work for the L1 railway has already started, including clearing land and transporting equipment. Construction of the railway will be starting the next months from Holsord. That is good to know. Okay, I don't think I have anything else I can do. So, unfortunately, I will have to talk to the Chief Justice. Now, that's going to get interesting. The administration had been working day and night on the overwhelming amount of issues that were facing the country. The various government departments were sending me an avalanche of documents, all of which required my signature so they could start working on the new plans that had been decided on. After I'd signed dozens of them, I closed my eyes to relax for a moment. Another long day. Don't tell me this is another surprise meeting that my secretary conveniently forgot to tell me about. Even though I couldn't wait to leave the palace for the day, Lucien had earlier told me that the Chief Justice wanted to speak to me. We were to meet in my office in 30 minutes. Okay, can we have Lucien in that meeting then as well, please? Because I would prefer... ideally, I would have a briefing with Nia first before we go into this. I always like to go into my meetings informed, but let's see what's going on. I waited for him, wondering what he wanted to talk about. I have a pretty good idea what he wants to talk about. He obviously has gotten wind of, to a degree, he's gotten wind of our plans for constitutional reform. Now, we haven't, I think, in the last discussion, I don't think we have decided to secretly reach out to the other judges to gauge their positions, in order not to leak any of our plans or any too much information out to Hawker. So it could be that that's the reason why he's coming around, because he wants to go by himself and find out what it is that I'm all about. So the idea here is probably going to be similar to the discussions I had with Tusk and with Coronti. We're going into this, so he knows that I'm his enemy. I know that he is my enemy, and I'm pretty sure he's going to try and find out if I know that he knows. Whereas I'm relatively certain that he knows, but he might not know if I know, if that makes any sense. I'm feeling like Bernard here, if that rings a bell. So we're going to try not to give away too much, try not to be openly hostile, but at the same time also let's not give him anything as much as possible of what he actually wants. If we can leave him in the dark and leave him unsure about where we're going with everything, then that'll be the best possible outcome. So, let's go. No, I'll take a moment to relax. I'm not going to start with the drink. I need my wits about myself when it comes to this thing. I stretched out my arms and looked out of the window. Thousands of shimmering lights in the Holsort skyline were mesmerizing. Suddenly, I heard a knock on the door. It was Lucien. Oh, yay, Lucien is here. Good to know. Good evening, sir. Good to see you. Good to see you too, sir. I'm sorry that I couldn't explain the situation to you in detail earlier. Yes, thank you, but thank you for clearing that up for me now. So what's going on? I really prefer to have briefings with my trusted advisors before going into meetings of what we're actually going to, especially with potentially hostile political factions. The Chief Justice insisted on seeing you this evening. I do not know what he has to say, but it will probably be about the new constitution. I would agree on that. He will be coming shortly with Judge Garaci on the meeting. To the meeting. We shouldn't take them lightly. I agree to that as well. Who is he bringing? Okay, so we've got Heron Garaci, he's another one of the Old Guard faction, and he is, let's see, so he's a military man, strong supporter of Sol, leading members of the USP. So he's actually in the party. He was Minister of Justice and Law. And then Alfonso tried to isolate him and shove him over into the Supreme Court. And he became infamous for his obstructionist methods against Alfonso and his policies. Funnily enough, so here's the funny thing, right? So clearly he is a Solist, and as such part of the conservative old guard that wants to get, the old dictatorship and the old political connection and the boys' club sort of thing back on. But obstructing Alfonso per se by itself is not actually a bad thing, because Alfonso clearly was massively corrupt and was working with his cronies to line their pockets on the expense of the government, and to pillage, plunder, and take everything that he possibly could within everything that wasn't nailed down, basically. So the simple action of obstructing Alfonso by itself isn't actually a bad thing. But yeah, he's clearly He's clearly a part of the old boys club. And then we have Hawker himself, who is, obviously was working with Saul, doing his bidding and creating a more dictatorial environment. So these two, we should definitely not take them lightly. So we're going to have to be very careful how we deal with this, and at best, not do something or not give them anything and leave them in the dark as much as possible, because they came to discuss something, obviously the Constitution. So if we can leave them in the dark as much as possible, that'd be good. Okay. I think so. Either he knows and he's here to test the waters, or they're here to try to threaten us into stopping the reform. Can they threaten us? How can they threaten us? How could they potentially threaten us? What are their current powers? One of the major powers, and again, I'm going to have to double check that with the Constitution just to make sure. Yes, so Article 17 very clearly says that in case of the president violating the Constitution, or in case the president committing treason, the Supreme Court by itself, with an absolute majority, will be able to impeach the president. Now, the Supreme Court, and I've got to be careful not to touch the keyboard, otherwise this will automatically click on something. Right now, the old guard only have 5. So 5 is not enough. They would need 6. So if they would only need one more judge out of the centrists and reformists to get me effectively removed from office. And they can trump up something easily. So the Supreme Court has noticeable power over me, which means I believe that, yes, they are here to threaten us to stop the reforms. I would give it a good chance. So I would give it a minor chance that they're just here to figure out what I want and what I know and what kind of person I am, and if how I would react to things. Or that I give it a better chance that they're probably here and effectively say, look, we can trump up a charge against you relatively easily. We'll come up with a forged document that you're in collusion with United Contana and your relations to the Red Youth and your disobedience during your time in the military show that you are selling out the country to the communists and you're facilitating blood in the streets in order for a violent overthrow. That's treason. There you go. We just need one judge out of the other factions in the Supreme Court, and that's the end of your presidency. Nice presidency you have there. It wouldn't be a shame if it happened something to you, would it? So yeah, I think they're here to threaten us to stop the reforms. We knew they would react at some point. We should. There were 3 knocks at the door. Lucien checked his watch. He looked rather worried. I agree with Lucien that looking worried is the right reaction to this. Livia opened the doors. Chief Justice Orso Hawker and Judge Heron Garachi entered the room. Good evening, Mr. President. It's great to see you. Evening. Okay. How are we playing this? I think, like I said, I'm going to try and be as unreadable as possible. There are a couple of options. I can threaten them back. But right now they are effectively holding, in terms of power, I think they are actually potentially holding the cards in their hands due to the current Article 17 of the Constitution, which leaves it simply to the Supreme Court to impeach me. That needs to go. This has to be an assembly thing, because the Supreme Court is not the elected representative of the people. So that needs to go. So in terms of power right now, I think they are potentially holding the cards. I could obviously counter this by doing something like, well, it would effectively be, so let's play it through theoretically. If they try to impeach me, the counter would be to declare something like martial law and declare the Supreme Court hostile and declare constitutional reform. In the current unstable environment, that would actually be a very bad thing, because that would give various political factions, including foreign ones, all the reasons they needed for potential interventions. So something to be avoided, which means I should not, as much as possible, should not appear hostile. But at the same time, I also don't want to give the appearance that they can get away with things. So being in the middle and as neutral as possible is the way to go. All right, good to see you, gentlemen. What brought you in here? And I think Lucian probably agrees with that. Also gestured at the sofa in the office. May I? Let's have a well, I'm a nod. Yes, I'm a nod to him. And let's. I want to bring the impression of I'm a very busy man. Why are you coming to disturb me? But at the same time, also not. I'm fully aware why you're here, and you better not. We all took our seats on two opposite sofas and made ourselves comfortable. How were your first couple of months, Mr. President? I hope you're faring well. Okay, so we're opening up with small talk and a friendly beginning. So no good cop, bad cop routine so far just yet. Given that there are two of them, I was expecting that to happen. So I could obviously do the. I could raise it and say, I know why you're here. So drop the pleasantries and get it out. But obviously we don't want to do that. It's very busy, but I'm doing good. No, we're not going to give them an opening, obviously. This is a bit of a weird kind of, why are you worrying about me? No, we're playing a game once more. We're just doing small talk right here. Thank you. It's very busy, but I'm doing good. It will only get busier, yet I think you're doing a good job so far. Thank you. And you clearly don't mean that. Considering all that's happening around us, with the shootings near the palace and soldiers on our borders. Okay, so yes, you are aware of the general political situation, and you just pointed that out. He let out a deep sigh. It's a troubling time, that it certainly is. We appreciate your concerns. That we certainly do. Thank you, Lucian. So, with that out of the way, you probably know why we're here. Okay, so that was the... okay, so Garachi might end up being the good cop, in terms of, we're so worried about you, we're troubled by all the things ongoing, we want to help to the best of our abilities, but you clearly can't continue going with the constitutional reform that you're doing, because it just overthrows, it adds too much confusion to the current climate. Shelve that for a later date, or remove the restrictions on the Supreme Court such that we can work together on fixing the problems. I think that's my expectation of where Garachi is going to go. Whereas Hawker is going to go... or else. You probably know why we're here. Okay, so does he know that I know, or does he not? I think he clearly knows. He clearly knows that I think he either clearly knows or has a relatively good idea of what we're trying to change here, because we've been reasonably public about it, and there've been enough people engaged in the committees for constitutional reform that one of them is going to have talked to Hawker. Could be like a conservative member of our own party, but for sure he knows what's coming. I would be very surprised if he didn't. So he's not here to find out what we're trying to do. What he's trying to find out is if he can intimidate me or find a way to protect his own interests. So I could play dumb. I could, well, I don't think he's going to be here to bribe me, honestly, because I would suspect, depending on how well informed he is, but I would suspect that word has gotten around by now that I don't do bribes. So I don't think that's what he's here. I could literally call him out on it and basically saying, yes, I know, here's the challenge, and no, you're not getting anywhere. Or I'm just going to politely ask him to spell it out. So you think you know that I know, but I'm not going to give you that much. So let's enlighten us, Mr. Hawker. We know you're working on a new constitution. Yes, I suspected you did. The Supreme Court does not approve of this. With all due respect, the Constitution needs to be updated, sir. I am sure we are all well aware of the public demand and our circumstances. Okay, so Lucian is playing the, yes, we understand, but we are under significant pressure from the electorate that this needs to happen. And that's something he can give us easily. What I think he's going to try is to carve out not to change Article 17. Is that so? I see that you are the one who is not aware of our actual circumstances. Okay, so he's going, yeah, he's going he's going in guns blazing. So then enlighten us, Mr. Hawker. You want to make a weaker constitution in the midst of problems from both inside and outside. Even if your proposal passes the Assembly, I will make sure it will not pass the Supreme Court. That much is clear. Yeah, we'll see about that. Because, so obviously he's laying it out. We'll see about that because we might be, so Nia seems to think she can get it through. So your days might be numbered. Okay, so we have a couple of options. So he's clearly put his cards down and saying, yeah, this isn't going to happen. And he's not even giving us the I agree to constitutional reform, but leave Article 17 in. No, he's going full on maximalist and like, you're not gonna change the constitution, boy, because I'm in power here and I'm in charge here. No matter what badge you're wearing and what kind of communist or democratic nonsense you're coming up with here, I'm the one who's running this country, and if I say this constitution doesn't change, then it will not change. So we could call him out on it. Obviously, we don't want to do that because we want to leave him in ambiguity. You came here to threaten us. Well, do we want? Let's. There is a good cop, bad cop routine going on, I think. So let's see how this goes. We can figure something out. That would be an outreach, and effectively saying if you drop your opposition to the constitutional change, then we're going to give you what you really want. Because in the end, it's not about the country. It's not about the constitution. It's about your position of power. That's what you're after. This is an interesting barb, actually, because this is actually going to fish for him to give us something that we may not be sure of, because we assume that he knows what the constitution looks like. But this is a nice one, actually. So I'm relatively certain that he knows what the proposal is, but he is likely not supposed to know that because it's part of the. It's not been made public yet. It hasn't been presented to the Supreme Court. So by asking this question, he can go. What is he going to do? Is he going to say, "No, I have seen it"? Then we can ask, well, how? It shouldn't have been leaked. How did you get access to this? If he says he hasn't seen it, then my argument stands of how can you be against it if you haven't even seen it yet? So this is a nice one. We'll do this. You haven't even seen the proposal yet, Mr. Hawker. Isn't it too soon to be against it? Do you think I live under a rock, Mr. President? Okay, so he has seen it, of course. I know what goes on. Yet you, Mr. President, seem to be only partially informed about the current situation. Please let us explain the reasons of our stance. So he's... so he had to admit that he has contacts. So he's confirmed what I strongly suspected, that he has contacts within the constitutional reform groups that have leaked the documents to him. So obviously, I would strongly suspect conservative members of our own party have been leaking that to him in order to stop it. Or in at least something in that direction. But he clearly had to admit that he knows. Okay, so we got him on that. And now Garachi comes back in again, is going to be conciliatory. But interestingly enough, goes in a different direction that I thought he was going to go. I thought they were going to go for compromise. Like, okay, maybe we can let you have your constitutional change to appease the electorate, but let's make sure that we're keeping the most important articles out of that and make sure they don't get changed and not neuter the Supreme Court. But instead, where he's going is, oh, you actually don't. This is actually interestingly aggressive. So he's effectively accusing me of not knowing what's going on in the country. Unfortunately, he's not completely wrong, because I learn about things like rural development plans from the newspapers for. But yeah, this is actually quite insulting. So let's see what you have to say then. Okay, so I can counter him. I can say, look, don't insult me. I don't know where you're going with this, but that would just shut this down, right? I'm not gaining anything from this. I could let him explain and see if I can learn something, which is always the better thing, and also that leaves him in the dark. In that it could be so. I don't know precisely the motivation. I'm assuming the motivation of Hawker is that he wants to preserve his own power because he believes that he runs the country. I don't know what Garachi's motivation is. It could be that he actually truly believes that this is a bad idea, and that something needs to. That I'm not completely aware of what's really going on. That I'm an idiot, basically. So I could double down on that, or I could just be open and saying, okay, tell me then, what is it that you think I don't know? Because that way he's not learning anything. So let's go with that. Please explain. We are protecting the Constitution because it works, Mr. President. It is efficient and it gives you the authority to lead the nation with swift decisions. Okay, so here comes the hook. If you change the Constitution, you might not be able to govern as you see fit. Well, we are. Last thing I checked, we are a democracy, Mr. Karachi. And I am but the humble servant of the people of this country. I know that this is not something you agree with, but let's see. Let's see where this goes. So is he trying to bait me with... That would be weird. Is he trying to bait me with, oh, you're going to lose power if you change the Constitution? Yes, I knew that. I triggered the whole process, for goodness sake. I mean, I read it before we started. So I'm fully aware that I'm curtailing my own power here, which is the whole point of it. Because constitutions last a lot longer than presidents, and I don't know who's coming next. So trying to bait me into, or trying to convince me that, does he truly believe I don't understand this? Okay, let's see. Swordland has more important problems and threats than we should face right now instead of nitpicking about some paragraphs of the Constitution. We have a potential war within our borders. He's not wrong. And this is also something that's been bothering me, that we have so little updates on the security situation domestically. The problem that I have with the Constitution, the main problem... Okay, let me put it this way. The main problem I have with the Constitution is the Supreme Court's power. The other things are things that I would personally believe we could handle at a later date. The main trigger for handling the Constitution now is that we are on a reform mandate. And in order to get stability back in our country, we do need to follow our electoral promises. That's part of it. So that's why we're doing this now. But the primary reason is to get you people out of the picture, because what you're not telling me is that the Constitution works because you have the power to eventually threaten me with removal if I don't do what you think is the right way for Swordland. So effectively, you want to be running the country. That's why you're disliking this. Also signaled Heron with his hand to let him speak instead. Okay, what is he come? So he's been sort of trying to appeal. Okay, I'm really not sure where he's going with this, but he's trying to appeal to my. Oh my gosh, you're right. Actually, I didn't notice there were riots in the street. How could I have missed that? Yeah, you're totally correct. Let's not change the Constitution now. That's a weak argument. So maybe that's why Orso is going in, and now he's going to go in heavily, most likely. Mr. President, I know that you're a busy man, so I will make this quick. Okay, so he's like, okay, shut up, Heron. you're. I don't know what you're trying to do here, but I have the power. I rule this country. We all know that Swordish security forces found stashes of Romborgian weaponry in the hideout of Bludish separatists. KA-74s are roaming inside Swordland at this moment. I know that. You are not supposed to know that because that was in a confidential document. So my office is leakier than a Swiss cheese when it comes to confidential documents. So I think going forward, I will simply have to assume that everything I read is known to my opponents, because everything gets leaked everywhere by the looks of it. As much as Rumburg poses a direct threat, now it's clear that they're also intervening in our country and weaponizing our minorities against us. It's not unprecedented to think that the Bloods will start their terror again with their new toys. Oh, he hates these people, by the way. So what you're proposing is that we're going full on back Sol. We're going to round up and create some camps that we can round up undesirables because they're not like us. They're bloody foreigners or bloody minorities. They're not really the right people. We're going to round them up, put them in camps, and then deal with them as we see fit. And then we'll show those Romborgians who's boss. That's what you want to do. Not to mention the fights that broke out between the left and right after the shooting of Circus. Communists are rising with the support of United Contana. The chaos is imminent for Swordland. Well, communists are rising, nationalists are rising, minorities are rising, everyone is rising. And yes, see, the problem is I actually agree with him. This is the bloody priority. Not environmental protection acts or tourism or farmland development. But yeah, where's Lilias? I haven't talked to Lilias in a while. But still, obviously he's using this for his own purposes. That's what I said about the violence in the streets. It'll get politicized. Right? All sides will be using it for their own purposes and schemes. And sadly, we don't see the administration taking the necessary precautions. You said you will not focus on military during your term. Under current circumstances, that cannot be tolerated at any cost. He truly believes that he runs the country. Okay, so obviously we've got a really weird good cop. I'm not sure what he was trying to do there. And we've obviously got Hawker, who goes around and says, I run this country and you're not doing things my way, and I'm going to remove you from office if you don't fix your ways, boy. That's basically what he's trying to say. So how can we counter this best? Obviously, we do want to look. He is more than out of place at this stage, but we want to eventually come out of this with him none the wiser. So I can tell him, sort of, you have no jurisdiction over these matters. That's basically saying you're out of line, because you're saying that you cannot tolerate the way that we're running the country. So I can say, look, not gonna happen here. You're the court, but I'm running the country. So that would be the obvious challenge, and saying, okay, I see your position, but I will not budge. I could effectively dodge it and saying, oh, you're worrying too much. Effectively pretend that he's just a concerned citizen, and I said, it's all right, we're doing the right things. Don't you worry your little head about this. This is almost condescending, and I like it. I did promise that, but the circumstances have changed. So I'm going to tell him and saying, yeah, actually, you might be right here. Or I could call him out on the obvious threat and saying, Mister, you are completely out of line. So that's a challenge. That would be giving in to him. So I think I'm going to go with no. We are actually taking the necessary steps. You do not know exactly what we're doing, despite your insights into the inner workings of my government that you really shouldn't be having. And you don't worry about it. It'll be fine. So this will leave him with, hopefully, this will leave him with, either he believes I'm an idiot, depending on how full of himself he is. Either he believes I'm an idiot, or he believes that there are things that I'm doing that he doesn't know, and it might make him more cautious. I think it's the best option, to be honest. I don't see how I could ever get sort of on board with him, because he truly believes that he runs the country. So I don't think there's any way of getting on his good side. So I think the best choice is probably the slightly condescending one. We're taking the necessary steps. No need to worry. We hope that our police forces and our military is adequately funded during these times of conflict. But regardless of that, are you also aware that the armed Bludish separatists have direct connections with the Workers' Party of Bludia? Yeah, I know this is one of the old pet peeves of his, that it's one of the old pet peeves of his that he wants to get rid of the parties. So obviously, the Workers' Party of Bludia is the sort of political arm. It hasn't been proven, but it is a legitimate political party. And also we've got Leka now actually running the Independents, who is from that party. So it's highly likely that there are, or it'd be very surprised if there weren't any connections. So it is entirely possible that there are, but it hasn't been proven so far. So why is he asking me that? Probably just out of his hatred for the Bludish people. I could just claim that this is common knowledge. It isn't. We could say, oh, they don't. They claim they're not. That would be the most neutral answer. We could effectively challenge him on this and saying, no, I stand with the Bloods, at least with the at least with the Democratic one. This would be the honest answer, but not probably what we need him to know about. Or we could just be dismissive and saying, well, this is the racist answer, and saying, they're all just not really people anyway. I think, they claim otherwise. This is a complete non-answer, by the way. This is, I didn't say I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. But this is also not the problem, right? This is not how we are going to deal with this. We're not going to get the insurrection under control by putting the hammer down. That'll just lead to more bloodshed, more trouble in the future. No, we get that under control by actually talking to the people. And since we can't officially, we can reach out to the militias potentially, but the easier way is just to work with the Workers' Party of Bludia, which I am planning to do anyway, in order to get that problem sorted out, get them. We're not going to go for independence, but we're going to go for equal rights here. We're not jeopardizing the national integrity of Swordland, but we have to obviously remove the discrimination and provide economic opportunity. And that'll deal with the militants by itself, because people who have enough to eat, who have decent education and job opportunities, really don't like other people blowing that up for political reasons. You'd be surprised. It's just when people have nothing to lose, that's when things go bad. They claim otherwise. They may claim they have no ties with the separatists, but most of their members used to be part of them before they formed the Workers' Party of Bludia. Yeah, you really don't like them. How about the name, Mr. President? Is it not the Workers' Party of Swordland, is it? As far as I'm aware, there is no nation called Bludia around here. I'm honestly not entirely certain what these clowns are even after at this point. Are they trying to... I can't really even take them that seriously as a threat. Are they trying to intimidate me, or are they trying to convince me? Because I haven't seen any kind of bribe attempts, politically or financially so far, obviously. And with Lucien in the room, they can't do that either. But what are you even going for? It's a very, very, very odd couple of people here. What is this all about? Exactly, Lucien. It's like, the heck are you people on about? The only reason they are not in the assembly is because of the electoral threshold. They have gotten quite big. They are clearly getting outside help, and their connections to the paramilitary Bludish force cannot be denied. So it comes down to the fact that you're a racist, and you really, really don't want to have these not people being part of the democratic process. And the whole, of course we know that Rumborg is working with them. It's not because Rumborg cares about the Bludish people. And all of a sudden the reformists are trying to decrease the electoral threshold so that the Bludish separatists can be legitimized in the assembly to achieve their aims of independence. That's what this is about, yeah. Okay. So he's gotten into his mind that Richter is working with Rumborg and the Bludish people to create a break apart separatist state. What? Okay. Really? Okay, let's take a step back. Let's assume for a second. Okay, let's think about this. There are two possibilities. The first one is that this guy is an old racist who's drunk on his own power, and he is effectively just coming up with conspiracy theories at this point. Because I don't see Richter being in that. Richter is a globalist, right? Like there's no way that's something that he's after. Like Richter is liberal democracy, Arcasian membership, Arcasian Treaty Organization membership, that sort of thing. That's the direction he's going. But it is... So the other thing that we know, however, is that these people know a lot more than they're supposed to be knowing. And they have, I would assume they have eyes and ears in all political offices. And looking at my secretary again, and it's possible that he has something on Richter. It's very unlikely, but he seems to have gotten himself into a bit of a rage here. I should be able to use that. Because people who are angry might be divulging more information than they should be. So I could just... It's fine. I won't make it... I won't break the country. Don't worry. I won't let the non-people anywhere near you. You don't have to be afraid of them. I could just tell you're off your rocker. Or I'll play into it. Because if I can goad him to divulge more information that either tells me something about his state of mind, which is valuable, or if he, very unlikely so, really has anything on Richter, then that might actually be an interesting bit of information to have as well. Do you think that's Mr. Richter's intention? I suspect his intentions are grander. Okay, what do you got? But I wish the only issues were the Blutish terrorists and Rumburg. The reformists suggested changes would also bring the communists, who are backed by United Contana in the assembly. Do you see the pattern yet? Okay, so what now? Richter is a... Richter is a communist? Okay, I'm gonna have to step away for a second. Okay, I needed both a bathroom break and a second to digest this. So he suspects the intentions of Richter are grander than legitimizing Blutish independence. The reformists suggested changes would also bring the communists into the assembly. Are we talking about the electoral threshold? Because we already have them in the assembly. We've got the independents here. Circus was a communist. What are you going on about? So I'm starting to lean heavily into the idea that these guys are a bit crazy. They're conspiracy theorists at this point almost. I'm almost starting to pity Hawker. I've seen him as this grand, dangerous man, similar to Coronti, but he's actually a bit sad almost. So he's suspecting that Richter is working with United Contana to bring communists into the assembly? Okay. You're saying the reformists are... I'm honestly just going to go along with this just to see where this leads, because these people seem to be so far out that I want to... So either they have some really... most conspiracy theories have a core of truth in them. So either they have some information that would be really important for me to have, and they've just spun that wild theory around it, or they are completely lost in their own world of thinking and they truly believe this. So I could accuse them of being conspiracy theorists, which doesn't generally go well with conspiracy theorists. I can play into that. So you're saying reformists are working for the foreign powers. I could call them out and saying you have no evidence about any of this, which could bring forward, get them to bring forward any kind of information that they might have if they believe that I'm even listening to them. Or I could ask them, well, your suggestion is easy. Leave the Constitution as is. Round up all the Blutish people and send Richter over to United Contana where he belongs, because he is clearly a communist. You're saying the reformists are working for the foreign powers. I'm kind of keen to ask for evidence. I mean, most likely they don't have any. At this point, I'm almost convinced that they don't have any evidence, and that they would be that they're just spinning that. It's still possible, though. I mean, stranger things have happened. Richter being an agent of United Contana. That'd be hilarious if that was the case. And meet up with him tomorrow and saying, oh, hey, friends, I've heard you were working for United Contana and wanted us to move the country and align it eastwards. That's great. We have the same goal in mind. Let's do it. I do that in a heartbeat, because that is literally the... Are you aware of the irony of this? Have you not realized that I am actually doing exactly what you're trying to accuse the reformists of? Or is this some veiled threat to me? I am baffled, honestly, with these two. You're saying the reformists are working for the foreign powers. Haven't you been briefed by your security team? Maybe you should suspect them as well. Okay, they are, yeah, okay, they've lost it. That isn't to say that I don't suspect that people have been doing things. Okay, I have had my suspicions, not about United Contana's involvement for sure, but I've had my suspicions about the chief of police, and I haven't been too happy with some of the things that Lilius has been going on about as well, but okay. If you have any evidence, now is the time to show it. We should take the necessary measures against communist and Bludish plots, as well as increasing our military budget against a possible conflict with Rumburg. And of course not fall into the traps of the reformists by listening to their demands. They are clearly plotting to weaken the president and our whole administration in order to exploit the situation. Which brings us to some very important information that we have. Okay, bring it on then. It's definitely something you need to hear, and it can change absolutely everything. Good grief. This went in a completely different direction than what I had thought. Okay, bring it on. With all due respect, Mr. President, I think this is getting slightly ridiculous. Yeah, I agree, Lucien. So, okay, I agree, Lucien, that it gets ridiculous, but never interrupt your enemy while he's busy making mistakes. So, I want to know what these people are what these people believe is going on, because this is so outlandish that just for my morbid curiosity, I want to see. I want to know where this is going. We don't lose anything by listening to them. So I could reproach him. I think it's actually unwise for him to interject here, because they're making complete and utter fools of themselves at this point. So I could shut this down now, or I could keep listening to them. Yeah, please explain, Mr. Hawker. The person in question is Mr. Franz Richter himself, the leader of the reformists. We have enough information to infer that he has ties with Arcasia. I know that. He's... I'm not surprised, but let's see what you got. Arcasia is aggressively growing their influence around the world, and now we have Mr. Richter coming up with these ridiculous demands for a new constitution amid a chaotic period in Swordland. So it's both a plot by the communists and by the globalist capitalists. So it's basically everyone is against us, and we're the only bulwark of sanity around here. Is that what you got? All the pieces seem to fit perfectly. That is why the Supreme Court will be doing what it takes to stop these reforms and preserve the Constitution. How would you know that Mr. Richter has ties to Arcasia? Yes, come on. Goad him on more. What do you have? Mr. Gallade, we all know he has been... Oh, good grief. Because he traveled there. Okay. We all know he has been in Acacia many times because it's been documented. But what would you think if I told you he has been making hidden flights to the country? He was hiding his flights to Acacia? Okay, let me see what you got then. He was hiding his flights to Acacia. He was. He was spotted in a hotel in Acacia last year where they held the Conference on Economic Development in Volatile Regions. Right around that time, he started to influence the masses into believing that our constitution is the reason for everything bad. Okay. So you've been snooping on Richter, and Richter has been doing a few odd things. Conference on Economic Development in Volatile Regions. Okay, I don't put it past him. I have always seen Richter as a globalist who would try to push us towards Acacia. Wouldn't put it past him that he's actually working for foreign powers. That doesn't change the fact that what we're doing with the Constitution is correct, just because he's a foreign agent. But yeah, no, that wouldn't actually surprise me, because that's how I kind of have seen him as well. Okay, he started to influence the masses into believing that our Constitution is the reason for everything bad. Well, it isn't, but it has problems, and one of them is that you clowns are in power. His trip was not documented, nor was he an official guest of the conference. We believe that he had a meeting with President Walker behind closed doors. President Walker? Dwight Walker is the Acacian president, coming out of Rumburg, of all places. Okay. That's you believe that because you want to believe. Now, it's if they have this is certainly interesting, and again, I wouldn't put it past him to reach out to Acacia in order to gain political support. Wouldn't put it past him at all. I also have more photos of him that were taken in Acacia in different cities. One is from a couple months back. Again, none of it is documented. He also attended another event in Lesbia last week. The Acacian Minister of Foreign Affairs was there too. Okay. How can any of these be... well, he would literally just fly there. But how did he... I mean, he would. How do we document travels of government employees in the first place? They use their passport at the airport, and we know that they are flying somewhere, right? Flight records. So how can this be undocumented? Or how did you find out about this? Yeah, has somebody? I wonder if there's somebody who's been feeding them this kind of information, or is there someone else who has a vested interest in the Constitution not changing? And I have a certain suspicion that there may be somebody on a little island who has a constitutionally guaranteed immunity as well as secured pension, government-funded mansion, security team, and everything, who has a very vested interest that sort of stuff doesn't get moved out of the Constitution, and who's got very close ties to his good old buddy Orso, who's gotten a little strange in the head in his old age, and who can provide a few hints, photographs, and other things that could get him to believe that everyone in the world is after him. So, how did you find out about this? Many solists were already following his leads for quite some time, Mr. President. I cannot give away their identities, but I can give you the evidence. He handed me a small file. It contained official documents from the Swedish border guard with highlighted dates that showed no trace of Franz Richter's name. There were clear photos of him that were taken in the conference in Acacia, as well as remarks by lesbian and Acacian citizens who claimed to have seen him with Acacian businessmen around the same dates. There was also an official transcript of one of his speeches where he claimed to be in Benfi on the dates of the conference in Acacia, where he was spotted. Ooh. Lucien skimmed through the documents with skepticism, which slowly turned into surprise. So this was worth it. These guys are actually onto something, interestingly enough. These seem to be real. Of course they're real, Mr. Gallade. These seem to suggest that Arcasia is behind the reformists. Their demands will only benefit Arcasia. They want us to have a weaker administration while we face all these threats. So it's both the communists and the capitalists who are after us. Am I correct? Now, all jokes aside, obviously, right, we're right at the fracture lines between the major power blocks. So obviously, we're north of Lesbia, which is a major capitalist outpost. And we're right north of Velen, which is a recent communist outpost. So obviously, there would be some vested interest. But this is some ammunition to deal with Richter if he ever becomes problematic. So we might actually have to look into Mr. Richter a little bit more. But now, that could explain why he's been so. How would this work out? Let's assume for a second that this is correct, that their theory is correct. So how would this work out? He would weaken the powers of the president. It would weaken the powers of the Supreme Court, and he would effectively strengthen the powers of the assembly to the point that he can take control of the government through the government's direction through the assembly directly. And then he would either be it would either be an impeachment if he can use the assembly to impeach the president and get rid of me and then become the president and then align the country with Arcasia. Yeah, that would be standard modus operandi. We could have a color revolution here. That could be the unrest as well. So yeah, foreign interest, won't rule it out. Definitely something I've had on my radar as well, but it's good to have that evidence. So this might be ammunition we could use to get Mr. Richter out of the way if he becomes problematic. Then again, from the last conversation during the meeting about the constitutional reform, it's, at least from what I've heard from Nia, we were well on the way towards a compromise because Richter's theatrics didn't get him anywhere. So he may as well he might have been bought off by the Arcasians to try and influence the process. But while he's been traveling around in secret, by the way, how did he do that? He must have crossed the border not by an aircraft. So he must have crossed an unsecured border section and then taken a flight from abroad towards wherever he was going. So that is definitely treason. So we can actually get him removed, and that might work out quite well for our own constitutional changes. Okay, this is clearly a plot against Swordland. I bet Rumburg is part of their plan too. I cannot be a coincidence that they are weaponizing our minorities against us around the same time. Now you understand the reasons for our current stance, and also our suspicions about your advisors, who clearly have not given you this vital information. Lucian gave him a sharp look. We appreciate the information, Mr. Hawker, but advise against jumping to conclusions right away. We still need to check the information. There's not much to think or check. It is clearly an emergency. In such cases, the Constitution gives the President the right to use his emergency powers. If we work together, you can be sure that the Supreme Court will not block your declaration of emergency. So that's what he wants. So he wants me to effectively go... He wants to go back to the dictatorship. That's what he wants, basically. He wants me to use emergency powers to deal with this perceived threat, and then restore the dictatorship. That's not what we're doing here. This is not how this works. Okay, so now I actually have to make a decision here. So I've had a quick check at the Constitution, and there actually are 2 articles that allow the president to declare the state of emergency, which would give extra police powers, suspend the rights of protest, and would allow immediately dropping all diplomatic dealings with foreign nations, closing the borders, all that kind of stuff. No, definitely not what I want to do. I clearly can't work with him, so I will have to decline. I am not declaring a state of emergency just based on some photographs that you produced out of nowhere and your conspiracy theories. So that's going too far. It seems you are more influenced by Mr. Galate than you think. What is that supposed to mean, Mr. Hawker? Why don't you explain your agenda yourself, Lucien? You are swaying the president to ignore the national security threats. Yeah, he's lost it. He's completely lost it. That is quite sad, actually, to see. Gentlemen, I am not swayed by anyone, Mr. Hawker. This is my own decision. Now, I have to be careful here, because he might be completely off his rocker, but he still has significant power, and he holds the power to try and impeach me, which is going to be something that he can do under the current constitution. So I have to be careful also not to get emotionally invested in the whole thing. So I think, this would allow me effectively to still leave an opening for him to believe that if he can convince me later on, then that things will work out his way. This is the clear, shut up, you're crazy option. And this is the more neutral one. Well, what topic are we supposed to get back to? I think we're pretty much done at this point. But I like this is a very neutral one of trying to. Well, I don't think this is going to go anywhere though. But he is something else. I was not expecting that to go there. I am not swayed by anyone, Mr. Hawker. This is my own decision. Say what you will, history will prove us right once again. And if you believe you can enact these reforms, you are living in a land of dreams. I think this meeting is over. Even though you're aware of our national security threats, you're making a big mistake, Mr. President. We will not allow you to succeed. Gentlemen, I think it's about time to end this meeting. Well, thank you for having us, Mr. President. Have a good evening. They both left the room without saying anything else. That was not good. They clearly tried to threaten me. Yes, I know. We need to take care of them. These guys are actually dangerous. So they are unhinged, but they're clearly unhinged, but they are also dangerous because of the power that they currently wield. So yes, we will have to make sure our reforms will pass the court. But we do need to take care of these two. Because both of them, Garachi and Hawker, although I feel like Garachi is the weaker one, Hawker is clearly the one who's completely lost it. Garachi is the weaker one, who is maybe who can, I don't know. How would we even deal with them? But I think yes, that we need to take care of them because these guys need to go. They are dangerous in their current positions. Also, we'll be doing whatever it takes to damage me. I know. We need to be careful. There are still many old guard sympathizers in our party. We can't let them divide our party. And he will definitely try. After a short evaluation of the situation on our hands, Lucien left me in the presidential office. It was obvious that the old guards would be my main rivals in the near future. That much is clear. Whew, that went off the path very rapidly. Not entirely certain what to make of that. So, in summary, we have two very dangerous men in the old guard. We knew that beforehand. We've learned something very interesting about Mr. Richter's corruption and him acting as a foreign agent potentially. Now, it is possible still that it could be that this is a forgery. I'm not sure. Would be very elaborate though. So they definitely have a point when it comes to the threat. Now, we still need to reform the constitution because we need to get rid of these clowns. But we also need to be careful not to let... I don't think Richter is that smart. That was my intention, or my impression so far. I think he's more... he's in it for his own political gain, obviously. And if he's been paid off by Arcasia with promises of either with funding or with promises of bringing the country into into the ATO and then getting him as the president. But the way that Nia has been describing his conduct during the reformist meeting was almost rather clownish, where he went into this sort of grand theatrical speeches of how things needed to change. But in the end, we kind of went more into the compromise mode, and he didn't have the backing of the assembly. So I think he's not a great threat. We potentially have evidence to accuse him of treason and to get him removed relatively easily. And if he gets in my way, that's something we could do. But the bigger threat are Hawker and the other guy. So we are going to need to have to do something about them. They are. We've been as polite as possible in the face of them, but they're a clear threat, and we'll have to find ways of dealing with them. Effectively, it's becoming a race now. So it'll come down to the Supreme Court. We knew that beforehand. So I'm going to have to sit down with Nia and find ways to get the. We need to get Justice Edmonds on our side. That is critical. Now, Edmonds not going to like me because she hates communism and she's a conservative. So we'll have to see how we can get her on board. But we effectively need to lever out the old guard's power because they are going to need the majority in the Supreme Court to impeach me. And so we may have to give some political concessions to the centrists in the Supreme Court to get them on board, but that is urgent, and we definitely need to get these reforms through, and we definitely need to make sure that we are getting the Supreme Court's ability to impeach the president out, because that is ludicrous. So that is the most important thing that needs to be removed, because clearly these people are, well, dangerous in their own ways. Good grief, that was something else. Anyway, that'll be it for today, and I will see you in the next episode.